Hold your breath. Make a wish. Count to 3. Come with me, and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look, and you'll see into your imagination. We'll begin with a spin, traveling in the world of my creation. What we'll see will defy explanation.
Hi guys, I'm back again. Sue Ervin here. We're going to do week number 2 of the Poinsettia. We've already put our background in and we've worked on the petals a little bit. We've just painted the base in the red petals. We're going to go ahead and start detailing petals. You can see that I've already put in some detail. That's what we did the last session, which you can look at if you haven't. If you're just starting new, you can go ahead and go back to the first session, I believe, and then catch up with us. So today we're going to work on detailing the petals a little bit. We've got 3 shades of red on our palette, plus a white and an off-white. So, and we even put some yellow on there if you want to add a little yellow to it, but the yellow is really for the center. So we're going to start with this petal up here. It's kind of the biggest guy. And we use the lighter shade of the red. So we're going to take the mid color of red, and you'll see it's darker, and we're going to put over this lighter shade and we're painting like it's the shape of the petal. Here will be the center of the petal of this poinsettia, and we have 2 sides to it, of course. The center goes down like this. We paint in the direction using some of the light that we put on it before and this darker, and paint the direction the petal grows. That's just the way you paint them. I just don't know why that is. It just makes it look more natural. If you painted it this way, it would not look like a petal. When you were finished, they would all look strange. I'm going to put some of the lighter with it and some of the mid color and get a second coat on this. And oh, by the way, I'm still using this angled fat brush. My biggest brush that I've got on the palette that I showed you on the palette in the beginning. And it's the angle I like. You can use the flat if you want to, but you don't. I think the angle works well because you can get up into the points like this and come down here. And we're going to when you put that second coat on, it looks so much more rich. And it covers it better. In fact, just as simple as that. We're putting some lighter shades in it. Come on down to the center of the flower. We can go back and add to that too as we start working on the center. We're going to take a little bit of this off-white color that was with our green and put it on the dirty brush, as I call it. That means you don't clean it off, you don't put it in the water, it's still got red on it. We put a little of that cream color, and we'll put along the edges here and there and pull it in toward the center just to give it a little kind of a lighter shade there. And we're just going to pull it toward the center. I'm turning my brush around to get the angle the way I want it to do. Going to put it back in that cream color again and kind of wipe it a little bit on the palette and go along the edge just with the edge of the brush and then pull it in there. I got a little more on this time. Just to kind of give it a little, and then we'll go this side and pull it down a little bit. There's kind of a glare. I'm going to start from the center and pull out. Glare from my lights. And I'm going to start up on the edge here. It's still, this brush has just got kind of lighter shades on it. And then that makes it, I'm going to get a little bit darker, one of the darker colors of red, and put it underneath. This leaf is on top of this one, so naturally it would be darker underneath there. And we're going to put some dark under the shading so that it will lift that leaf up to your eye. See how that lifted that up, and we'll put the lighter shade on this on top. And it'll make it look like it's on the, that this one's on top of that one. If I can get the color right, I want to get it just right. There. You can see where that separates. I'm going to put a little bit darker, I think. I think it needs it underneath there. Still using the same old brush. Too lazy to change. But you can use a smaller brush if you feel more comfortable. There. I'm going to brush this off so it's a little bit more of what they call a dry brush. So you don't have so much paint on your brush and I'm going to take it, this dark underneath here, and kind of smooth it out a little bit. There. It's not such a harsh line that way. And you can tell that this leaf is on top of that one, at least I hope you can. And I'll make it a little bit, pull it into the center. And get it this side done. I put a little bit of yellow on that to brighten that up some. Just a little bit. And we'll take the background red we used, the lighter shade, and kind of just touch up the edges there. Pulling it in toward the center, because that's where the way that it kind of grows outward from there. And then we'll do this guy with the mid color of red. And right here where this is darker looking, it's because it went into the green. I'm going to take my smaller angled brush, or the flat, either one, whichever. I'll take this flat one because it's close by, and dip it in the white, and kind of get this. It looks real dark there because it's over the green, so I'm going to cover that and let it dry. And while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'll go ahead and look and see if there's any other places that were really particularly noticeable where the green and red did not mix very well. They left a big dark, here's one. And you're just covering that up so when you go back over with the red, it'll cover it. If you don't let it dry, all you're going to do is mix your red and white, and get pink. So you want to let that dry. Here's another spot. That's just where the brush went over on that, so that's good enough for now. There's a spot over there. Up here I see a little spot. And then you'll have that base covered. The green is what is not getting covered by the red, so we want to cover that. Yeah. Okay, now we'll get back to business. Go to get that medium color again. If it seems too dark, you can add some of that beige color. See how that goes ahead and covers that then. Once you let it dry, you can mix a little bit of that lighter shade with it if you want. And go along the edge. There. I'm just getting the edges as I can. And you want to try to get some detail in these petals, just a little bit. This particular painting is not real detailed because we aren't spending the time on it, but you could make this really detailed if you wanted, but you can also just keep it like it is. I think it looks kind of pretty just like this. But it's your choice. This little guy should be darker because he's down below. So I'm using the darker of the reds. There's 3 shades. And you can lighten them or darken them as you want. But you always need to have at least 3 shades, I think, to get the colors in that you want, the lights and darks. There. Now we'll go to this one. I'm going to use the same dirty brush. You can get all the colors in there then. See this streaking in the petal because the brush has got all these colors in it. And again, we're painting in the direction that the petal grows. That's not, and you want the colors to kind of go into each other, not stop so abruptly like that is. You want them to blend. And that's just by working the darker into the lighter, darker, and just kind of overlapping it, and they'll eventually blend. So they aren't so dark to light. You want them to kind of just ease into each other. It looks better, I think. So I'm going back to this petal here that we had painted the white on. By now it's dry, so we can cover it up. There. I think I'll continue on down with the lights and the darks to give us all a second coat. And again, we're painting in the same direction. I think it's looking pretty good. And I haven't even stepped away from it. I should have, but I didn't.
Looks good to me.
That's my second voice back there. Keeps me... You wouldn't tell me if it didn't. Here we go.
Yes, I would.
Okay. See, this one's a little behind these other guys, so make it a little darker. Gotta get more paint on my brush. You gotta put paint on your brush if you want to paint. We'll have to fill that in here in a minute. We may add more petals even when we get to the center if we think it looks like it needs it. I suppose you could have put 2 flowers on here if you wanted to. Do anything you want with it. This is going to be 3 separate petals. They're kind of overlapping each other. This one being the back one. So it's going to be darker. There's that guy. And this one's going to be a little bit lighter. I'm mixing a little bit of white with it. If it gets too pink, which this may, I'll do some of that orangey red with it, or even some yellow. You just kind of have to work with it. See what shade you think it should be. I'm going to put a little yellow with it. See if I like that better. And it kind of blends on the palette. You don't always have to blend it with your palette. You can blend it as you paint, actually, sometimes. In this case, it will. And then we'll have the lighter here. But this guy's overlapping him, so I want to put dark here. And this is darker here. I'm using the darkest red. I think it was a cad red dark maybe or something. And there was one called crimson. And then the medium cad red, which is that yellow-orange color. And that helps. I want to get these smoothed out now. Remember I told you you don't want to be so abrupt. I'll have a pair of these I can hang somewhere.
Yeah. Now we'll put some more on this. Could I get you a stool or something for your leg? No, I think I'm good.
Okay.
Pretty comfortable, really.
All right. You've been through so much with that.
I'm on the healing end now.
Yeah. Thank heavens, huh?
Yeah.
Now we'll come to this boy. There's actually 2. This looks like a little guy here. We can either pull him over. I think I'm going to pull him over the top of this one. After I get this second coat on here. I know I'm a fast painter, but this is moving along pretty good.
And the good thing about watching it on a video is you can always pause it
That's right.
and catch up.
Or if you didn't get it all done, you can watch it again to see what you maybe missed, and
Yeah.
then by the time the second one comes along, you've caught up anyway.
Yeah.
Yep. And if you make that wet palette, you'll have all your paints already there for you for the whole painting. But if you mix paints and didn't make a wet palette, you have a heck of a time mixing them up again. Smoothing this out. I'm going to come back with a little one with a smaller brush, I think. Let's see, I'm going to get some. Some little light shades here, coming toward the center. Put this edge of this brush, just put it on straight, don't put it like that, put it straight on. Whatever left on the brush will probably come off onto that, see? And we can always add some dark. And do the same thing next to the light. Just let the brush go by itself pretty much. Don't put a lot of pressure. If you put pressure, it'll be a fatter line. You just want to let it go very lightly, and it just shows up. If it skips, that's okay, because it makes it look natural, see? You just can barely see that line, but you can see it. This is another one. We're just keeping the same dirty brush, nothing spectacular about it. When it quits showing anything in it, then rub it in one of these colors. You can rub it in the lighter shade or the darker, it doesn't really matter. And just lay the brush on top of the canvas and let it flow right up to the center on all the petals you've already done. And to get you some more paint on your brush. In this case, it's not a whole lot of paint on the brush, so was a lot on that one. I'm going to wipe some of it off, just dabbing it on the paper towel, and let it, don't put any pressure. See how much thicker that one is than that, because that had more pressure to it. But we'll go ahead and straighten that out, because we don't want one that thick. See, it's easy enough to fix. There. There.
Now, what did you do to fix that?
I went ahead and painted the side of it, put where it was thick, like where I put it on thick, I laid my brush to the edge of it and pulled it forward.
Okay.
I should have said that. I'm sorry, I get involved in my own painting and forget. But anyway, that thinned that down some then, see? Then you kind of smooth the side. Because you don't want those big, thick. It's okay if it's a little bit thicker on a bigger petal, but especially a smaller petal, you don't want that big, thick thing. I'm going to now, these look like they need a little more paint on them. So while I'm there, I'll just add it. I'll put some here. Okay. Now where were you? Now we're moving up to this one. I'm using the same thing that was on it. And put a little more paint for a second coat. Let's see how I'm going to shape this. Kind of like that, I think. There, it gives me this shape. And I'm pulling it out again, see? That's really a lot of paint on that center. But I'm just getting the shape of the petal. Making it come down there, but not, that's just coming off the petal. There. And this comes down, coming along the edge and filling all this in. Turning the brush over because I'll get the paint off the other side of the brush. Getting that clump off there. There. I think I'll make that a little bit lighter by putting some of that white with some of the other reds and make this a little bit lighter. Bring it down. Come along the edge of this. I need to wipe this brush off. If it gets kind of gunky in the tip of it, you know it's time to wipe it off. Start with a little bit less paint on your brush. I'm going to go on the edge of this, holding the brush up like that, not like that, but up more. Following the edge of this petal. Oops, I went off a little. There. And then I'll lighten this up a little bit. I'm going up underneath the, following it through. There. Give it that frosty look. Some of the petals kind of look that way on a poinsettia. You have to keep working at blending it sometimes. You can get blending gels that makes it not dry so fast, because acrylics dry so quickly. And the blending gel extends the life of the keeping it wetter, but I don't personally like them. I just use water, but some people really like them. I guess it's what you get used to using. But I like them just with the water. And we're going to go underneath this guy. This is some darker of the darker reds. Not the lighter, but using the darker underneath to shadow this guy here. Let's see. We'll come back with this here. And you can move to a smaller brush, like I said. It's your preference. There's no law against using a certain brush. If you don't like the one I use, you pick one you like, because you got to be comfortable with the brush. I can tell you what the brushes are used for, but that doesn't mean you have to use them for that. Some people might disagree, I suppose. I'm going to stick with the lighter shades up here. This guy's on top, that's why. And I'm still painting the direction he grows. Here's his stem would grow out that way. I'm just coming down. That's what I mean. I'm not going like this. I'm going that way. That little white there I need to get rid of. So I'll take my brush and go up and over. There's a little highlight. Put some, and that got a little thick there, but this needs a second coat, or maybe third. I don't know what's on there. I think it's just a second coming on. Takes a while to get these petals on. There. can take these two down to the senior center and put them on your virtual Christmas party.
Yeah.
I was thinking about our cookie house and all that.
I know.
Can't do that anymore.
No. Not this Christmas,
No.
at least.
That's right.
But maybe next Christmas.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's all we have to say. Things could be worse.
Yeah. We still all have each other.
That's right. And everybody's still trying to stay in touch, so that's a good
Yeah.
thing. And maybe we're getting some new people here that never taken many painting classes or never came to our painting class at the senior center, so I hope you're enjoying this and it gives you something to do and feel like you got somebody to paint with the back of my head. Kind of trying to get this covered a little better. See, that one needs covered more. Starting to come together there. I may have to switch brushes in a minute. Oh no. Let's see. There. I think I'll go through with my green and get the edges here that are not done very well. First we'll finish these two. Putting it again straight up and down, letting it be very lightly. I'll put a little darker on this and do it again because I think it needs a little darker. And the brush is just barely laying on the canvas. It's just tripping. See how it trips across some of it? And that's alright. It looks more natural. I'm going to get some paint off here because it's a little gunky. And it pulls the brush together. And get right up in here again. Barely touching. Now, I know you guys are hearing me say light touch, but that's what it is. A light touch. If I push down on this real hard, it would be a nice old big fat line, and you don't want that. This has maybe a fold over there. Make a little line where it's folded over. I'm hearing Christmas. Must be the flower.
Yeah.
It's magic. Yeah,
That's what we're about. Magic.
That's right. We're all about that. There. I'm pulling that edge down that I just painted. I'm going to try to make this look like it's I'm going to wipe this off again. I'm going to make this look like it's folded upward. Like the petal folded over there. Like that. That's what it's there. So it looks like it's, and we'll fix that edge. As soon as I get some of the paint off of this. There. Then I'll stick to my darker shade. If I need to make it darker, I can add some of that Prussian blue that we put on the palette. That'll make it really dark. And that would help the shading, but I think this is going to be a big enough contrast. We won't have to. The Prussian blue added to this. If you didn't add too much, if you add too much to it, you'd have purple. script brush back out, I guess. There. I think I will. The script is a long-haired guy. We water it down a little bit. And then clean it off before it's got green. You get it cleaned off. See, I should have had 2 or 3 of those lined up, then I wouldn't have to clean it, would I? I could just flap it across the thing like Bob Ross does. Make us all paint. Okay. Now, I'll get, again, I rolled it to make it thinner, and I'm just using the top of the script. You always thin the paint for the script to make it flow better. That's not thin enough. You want it to be inky, as they call it, in consistency. There. And now I'm going to take the green with this brush while I got it and get this right in here. It's a very thin line of separation between those. I just got my paint more green. I mean my brush in more green so I can separate those. There. That white was bugging me. There. Now, I'll go back to the smaller size guy and pull this down. There. Now I'll go back to the darker with this smaller brush and make this still a little bit more shaded. So it will make this look like it's a turned up petal. And I think it will eventually. Yeah, there it goes. There. Looking like it should. There. Now I gotta do something with these guys. These big ones need some help here. We'll go down with a little bit lighter shade right next to that, a little creamier color. That's that titanium white. And again, the brush is kind of wet, so it makes it thinner paint. And where it goes underneath, here, it has to be a little darker. So use one of your darker reds to shade that. Now, I'm going to go back to my bigger brush and fill this in again. Pulling this up so it blends in. Remember I said you don't want that harsh line. The brush is a little bit dry. It's good to spritz your palette also with like a spritz bottle with just water in it. That's all this is. And you just spritz it every now and then over the top of your palette to keep that wet, because acrylics is a water base. So you want to thin it down and keep it moist because it dries so quickly. So if you don't water it down every now and then, it'll dry on your palette. And that's why a wet palette is a good thing to use for acrylics. It helps keep it wet longer. But you do want to keep your palette wet, or your acrylics. They'll dry, so if you spritz them every now and then with a spritzer right across the top, no matter where you have it, if you have it on a paper plate, do it anyway. It's good for your acrylic. It keeps your paint flowing well. So if it starts to seem stiff, that's what you haven't done, is spritz it. Give it a little moisture. There. That's a little much there, but that's all right, we'll fix that. Brushing that off, my brush has too much on it. There. I'm kind of rounding this edge off, putting it toward the center seam there, the vein. Thinning it out, the dry brush, see how it's, you don't have a whole lot of paint on there, and you're just kind of pulling it up to lighten that side a little bit. Okay. I want to put a little on this too. And let's see, just here and there, I suppose. I'm going to go through and get with my script brush, I'm going to get some of this green taken care of, using the darker green, and trying to even up the places that need to be evened up with green, like here. You want to get all these lighter places that are close to the edge of the petals colored in. There, see how that's... And keep the paint thin by rolling that brush. That's a little too runny, isn't it? And use the darker greens so that you can cover. You can always go back and highlight something if you decide it needs it. I'll make that go all the way across there. I think it needs it. There. Oops, I just painted my hand. Don't want to do that. But that's typical. Wet my brush again. You just have to just go through this as you see it. Get the edges all fixed. I'm just going to smooth that out a little bit. There. That does look better. I'm sure I'll find more places as I go that fill in either red or green. See, I'm finding them already. They just stick out more than others. Now I'm going to take the red and do the little stems that I see. Okay. Are we at a stopping point? I am if you are, but I'll keep.
No,
Okay.
we've got about 15 more minutes.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and keep adding a little detail to different petals. Like, see, that's a solid, it looks pretty flat because we haven't put anything to it, but the center. I moved to the smaller flat brush, and because I think it's going to be easier for the petals now that I've got all the layers on it. This here needs a little more separation. I can see that now that it's drying. So I'll put a little lighter shade on the top one. Oh no, yeah, this is the top one there. So we'll put a little bit lighter shade there. These three guys are kind of overlapping each other. This needs to be a little bit lighter than the first one. Again, we're just using the three reds, and you can put add some white or some yellow. The white will make it pink, and too much yellow will make it an orange. So, but that you can adjust the colors however you want them. So that's just, well, I'm just letting you know that's the colors you'll get by what you add to it. Now this needs to be darker, so I'm going to stick with the darker red here of the three shades I used. There. Make him darker. Making this guy a little lighter on the edge. So I'll use some of the lighter shades. Didn't get enough on my brush. There. Just following the edge along to separate that from that, which I think it did. Gotta get a little more on my brush again. I'll come from this direction. There. Now it needs to have a little bit more on the vein. And then this one needs to come down. And we'll straighten out this edge. There. Looks pretty good. We'll put a lighter shade on the edge of this one also, right up here. I put light on the edge of this little flat brush. I'm barely touching the top of the canvas. And it skips some, that's okay. And this would be, we'll start down here. See? And this will have some light on it. You can use your script if you don't feel comfortable using this flat or angle. The script would work just as well. Just remember to have the paint watered down. See how that separated the three, makes it look more like three petals as opposed to one big fat guy. And I'm going to go back to the script brush for a minute and dip it in the red. And fix this stem that I just added to this outer one. Now, oh, I can't seem to get enough paint on that script. There. There. I think I'll highlight that a little bit. There. There. Now we'll come to this guy and see what we can do to make him a little more presentable. He needs some light colors up in here. We'll pull it toward the center just to bring it, make it look like it's kind of coming up a little bit. And get some more of the lighter red here. Using a dirty brush. Bring it toward the center. Oops, I made him too fat there. Went out of my line, so I'll just make him fatter down there. Now, put another coat on it. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 coats. Well, we put 2 for sure. Sometimes you might have to add a little extra on some of them. We may have to add a couple small leaves. Of the petals, I mean, these little guys off to the side. I'm not so sure that shouldn't be colored in. I don't know why I did that. I don't like how it looks, so I'm coloring it in. I don't think it should be split there. I'll put some white to cover that green. It looked like this petal was split here, and it really shouldn't be. That's why I'm doing this. And then I'll paint over that little one over the top of it again. Just correcting something because I don't like how it looks. But that's the joy of acrylics. Don't have to wait for it to dry forever, and you can straighten out your product. Look there, just one big leaf. Well, that was an accident, but it worked. So that's a good thing. It looks much more natural.
I like that you showed how to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
If you mess up, you can. It's an easy fix.
Yeah, every now and then I mess up, just every now and then. Yeah, things
Well, it's
could-
really not a mess up. It's just depends on the artist's eye.
Yeah, it just looked funny to me how that has split there. We'll let that dry, and then we'll put a top coat on it, and we'll just do... I can still put another guy here, and I might, just a little, one of these guys. Little petals. But that's going to look so much better. But I need to let it dry, because all you do is just move the paint around.
So we got 3 more minutes.
Okay. We'll move up here to this top one while we're waiting for that to dry, because you got to wait for paint to dry sometimes. And we'll just put another coat on it, and that will just go to the answering machine. Unless it's the president calling for advice. Somehow I don't think so. I got none to give. We're going to go back down the center of that with a darker.
I love the shadowing.
Do you?
I do. I like it.
It has to be, that's what makes a painting work. If you have enough shading in there. It makes it not be so flat.
Yeah, I like it.
That's the scary part of doing it, though. People are afraid to put it in there. But again, if you put it in and you don't like it, you can lighten it back up. But I think you'll find out you do like it if you step away from it. It works. In spite of ourselves. See, I'm pulling that out into the lighter shade because we don't want that to be so harsh. There. There. It's probably about time to quit.
Yep.
And we'll be coming back for our third session. So see if you can get this far before we come back for session number 3. And then we'll finish it up in session number 3. See you later.